We just got the season finale of the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, Obi-Wan Kenobi episode 6, and it keeps the tradition alive of everything with Obi-Wan's pretty good for the most part, and everything with Reva sucks. So let's get into it. Spoilers if you have not seen the episode. There is your warning. I will be spoiling the episode. Let's get into it. Let's talk about the Obi-Wan Vader fight first, and then we will talk about everything else. So this fight, I really liked it. I think it's going to be polarizing for a lot of people because I think some people will love it and I think some people will hate the fact that Obi-Wan just sons Vader. I think a lot of people are going to be upset about that. I liked it, honestly. I think it made sense for the most part. Yeah, let's get into this fight. Let's break it down. So they go to this random planet that looks kind of like where Aang fights the Fire Lord in the series finale of Avatar. That's immediately what I thought when I saw it. And also they do some earthbending, so it's kind of appropriate. It also looks a little bit like that one planet in Rogue One, but I thought of Avatar the first I saw it. The first part of the fight, you see that Obi-Wan's kind of got his mojo back. He's being a little bit fancier. He's got some moves. Things are going well for him. And then Vader's just like, nah, you weak. And just beats his ass and buries him. And at first it's like, why didn't Vader just kill him? And then it's like, oh, this is kind of his version of leaving him on Mustafar. Like, he knows Obi-Wan's going to come back. He just wants to make him suffer a bit first. Like, that burning him in coals for like 10 seconds in episode 3 was not enough. There's more. There's more. He needs to do more. Like, when you get all your limbs cut off and set on fire and left for dead by someone, you gotta do a little more than what Vader's done so far. I like to quote the references to Revenge of the Sith. I thought they weren't too heavy-handed. Especially what I really liked is the references to it in the fight itself and the choreography. I think that was really cool. But the lines they say to each other at the beginning of the fight were good. One thing I was like, please don't say it, please don't say it. Where Vader, when he gets Obi-Wan in that hole and he's got the high ground, I was like, don't tell him you have the high ground. Don't do it, please. If you do, that ruins this. And he didn't. Thank God. There has to be a cut. There has to be a version. Someone has to suggest it where they're like, what if he says he has the high ground? Like, please, the visual is enough. We get it. So I'm glad they didn't have him say it. But I was like, man, there's got to be a version where that happened. And thank God it's not in this actual version. But Obi-Wan musters the courage. He hears some voices, he thinks, and he musters the courage to go out and fight Vader again. He gets out. He beats the tar out of Vader. And I love it. There's some really sick looking moves. I think this is like the best the show has looked, because a lot of this show looks really cheap, it looks really rushed, things are kind of odd. You think some of the action looks limited by the I think it's called the volume is what they use, like that giant LCD screen or whatever. Like, some of the action you can tell, like, oh, they're very limited at where they can go because of this thing. But this didn't feel like it. Felt more grandiose. And yeah, I love this fight. Now, Vader gets his ass beat by Obi-Wan in the second part of this fight. Like, they have their little thing. Obi-Wan starts getting the advantage of him. He cuts him up. It's always so sad to me whenever you hear the, like, Vader damaged breathing machine struggling to breathe, like that noise. It's always, like, kind of like a puppy crying. Every time I hear that, I'm like, aw, I know he's, like, the most evil guy in the universe, or second most, but every time I hear that in a Star Wars movie, I'm like, no. I'm, like, just sad for some reason. But he damages him. He cuts his mask, which you knew sometime during this fight that was going to happen. They had to have Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen have a face-to-face. So it's like, when's the mask going to get cut? And it happened, and I really thought the fight was cool. I liked it. And well, here, let's just get into the emotional part before we get to the whole who won the fight and everything and how that went down. This is one of the best part of the show, the best thing I've seen from Disney Star Wars, period. I was more emotional during this part of the episode than I have been involving Star Wars since Disney bought them. When Ewan McGregor, like, you see his face, you see Obi-Wan see Anakin for the first time in years since that day on Mustafar. Like, actually see Anakin, not Vader, see Anakin. Like, the lightsaber reflecting off the tears in his eyes, the just distraught in his face, the pain. It is Ewan McGregor. Like, his performance is so perfect. He is so good as Obi-Wan. He's so good. This whole moment to me made the show worth it. No matter how bad some things in this show have been, this moment was like, okay, it was worth it. It was worth it seeing this. This was amazing. This moment, now I'm not saying the whole episode's fantastic, but this moment It's like, it's pretty much perfect. This moment, Ewan McGregor just sells it so well. Seeing the distraught and the pain in his face, but also there's a little bit of like denial and kind of hope that like Anakin is under there. Maybe like he apologizes to him. Like, you know, he's been thinking about this for years. Like, if I ever see Anakin again, like if by some miracle he's still alive, what would I say to him? And he does it. He lays it out on the table. He apologizes. But then he tells him, is like, you didn't kill Anakin. I did. And it's like, and you see him go like, oh, okay then, Darth. Like, when he leaves him. And I love that moment because this was set up in the previous episode when Reva's like, can you kill Anakin? Like, and he's very distraught. Like, he realizes that if it came to it, push came to shove, he could not kill his brother. He couldn't do it. And that's here. As much as the logical part of him knows that Anakin is gone, he's no longer around, and it's just evil Darth Vader, most people have been there in some point in their life where the logical part of your brain is telling you, like, these things are the facts, but then the emotional part of you is like, yeah, but I still can't reconcile with that. And that's what's happening here. Like, he puts out, he's like, yeah, I know that's just Anakin. I know that Anakin's gone. I mean, I know that's just Vader. But I still can't reconcile with that and actually go through with killing him. So he leaves him. And also, one thing that this does is, this does make it make sense to where, when he sees him in A New Hope, and he tells him, I was but the learner, now I am the master. That makes sense, because he is definitely the learner in this scenario. He got his ass beat. And again, that just moment, that when they're just staring at each other, and he's apologizing, and Vader's just having none of it, I love it. Now, as far as Obi-Wan winning the fight, some people are going to be mad because they think Vader should be unbeatable during this. I think Vader should be unbeatable to everyone, except I'm fine with it with Obi-Wan. Now, part of that is because Obi-Wan's my favorite character in all of Star Wars, so obviously I'm a little biased in seeing him beat Vader. It's like, hell yeah! But also, I do think it kind of makes sense because it lines up with the themes of what we saw prior, like the flashback that we saw before in the episode where you see that Anakin can be very just distracted by just his, like, or singular focused on one thing, and that's not necessarily the best thing, and like he's too emotional and he's too just concentrate on, I need to do this, I need to make him suffer, and not actually thinking about what needs to really be done. He's too focused on winning. To where Obi-Wan's a bit more clear. And also, I really like this with Obi-Wan's arc this season, with him starting out as this guy that doesn't have any hope left, is just kind of hanging on by a thread, knows he's got responsibilities to Luke, and that's kind of it. To where now he's back to being the Jedi warrior we knew him as. I like that. I like seeing his arc come full circle in this show. I thought that was cool. And yeah, I loved pretty much everything with Anakin and Vader in this final episode. Now on to the Reva stuff. Thankfully, it's not as much as previous episodes, but it's still stupid, dude. It's so stupid. The fact that Vader didn't kill her last episode is mind-numbingly dumb. He tells her he has no more use for her, and he leaves her alive. She's been stabbed in the stomach twice. And some people be like, well, Maul survived, well, the Grand Inquisitor survived. They shouldn't have survived either. I'm not saying this just because I hate Reva. I do hate Reva, but that's not the only reason I'm saying she shouldn't have survived. Maul coming back was really stupid. They told some good stories with Maul, I'll give you that, but he should never have come back. It's really dumb that he survived. The Grand Inquisitor, I know he was already alive. He was alive in Rebels, so he obviously wasn't going to die in the show. They should not have had him get stabbed. It's really dumb that he got stabbed, because then you have to have him survive. Really stupid. I hate it. I think it's really dumb that you can be run through with a lightsaber, in Reva's case, twice, and survive. It's really stupid because she gets to Tatooine so fast. I don't understand how she got to Tatooine so fast. How did she get out of there? There weren't any other ships there. And she's there just immediately. And also, she literally just has a bandage around her wound where she has a hole in her stomach. And it's like, okay, that doesn't make whatever. That's all you need to do. You run through the lightsaber. Just, wrap a cloth around it. But she wants to find Luke, and you know she's not going to kill Luke because Luke's in the original trilogy. It's kind of about him, you know? He's kind of one of the stars of the movies. Like, he can't die, so it's like, yeah, he's not going to die. Also, from the get-go, the very first episode, everyone, myself included, was saying, oh, Reva's going to turn good by the end. Because That you can tell with the story beats that they had, and also the fact that that's what Disney Star Wars does, to where they can't have bad guys. Everyone has to be a little bit good, and that's what they did here. It's really dumb. I hate it. You saw it coming from a mile away. I did like Uncle Owen fingering her wound. I like that. Like, they're in this scrap, and he's just like, "Oh, I see you got a wound there." I like that. But other than that, everything with Raven was stupid. Also, Aunt Beru, like, wanted Luke to die. She, like, gets thrown to the floor. It's like, oh no! Like, Owen got his ass beat and, like, almost crippled. Like, you see him grabbing his knee and, like, he can barely walk afterwards. Beru just gave up. She's like, a little brat, I want him to die. I never wanted some son like that. Like, Beru seemed like she wasn't a fan of Luke, because she could have immediately gone and chased after Reva. Maybe not to the best results, but she could have. So I hated it with Reva. It was stupid, and also it's a tradition in Star Wars to have the big battle intercut with something else, like they've done a million times before, and like all the Star Wars movies, like in the original trilogy and the prequels, they always do it. But in this, it kind of sucks when the other thing you're cutting to is just so stupid, boring, and you know what's gonna happen. So, yeah. Like with Vader and Obi-Wan, we know neither of them are going to die, but we don't really know how it's going to end or what's exactly going to happen. I did not predict Obi-Wan beating his ass. But yeah, the Reva stuff sucked. The Obi-Wan stuff was good. I like the use of the Force in the Obi-Wan fight. I like them just chucking rocks at each other. I also liked how there's a little bit of fisticuffs. I love that because that's what Lucas did in like all of his Star Wars fights, especially the prequel ones. Was there were some hand actions, kicks and stuff. I like that. I like seeing that because, you know, if your lightsabers are entwined and stuck and you've got 3 other limbs that you can use, of course you're gonna use them. So I like seeing that. Like Vader just punches Obi-Wan in the face. I love that stuff. But yeah, this episode was pretty good. It's probably my favorite of the show, honestly. It was my favorite of the show, definitely. It's just the Reva stuff still. Why is she still alive? Why is she set up? I don't care about her having a moment with Luke. Like, what's going on? Why? Why does that even need to happen? Reva, this show would be so much better without Reva. She does nothing but hold it back and make it worse. She honestly might be... She's like top 5 worst characters in Star Wars, legitimately. She is so bad. She's just a horrible character. But yeah, that's basically all I have to say. I don't think there. Well, no. At the end, we have Obi-Wan like having a nice moment with Owen and him meeting Luke, which is whatever. And then he meets Qui-Gon, which was cool because we've been waiting for that forever, and it kind of sets up a season 2. I like that, him going on like an adventure in the desert with Qui-Gon training him. I was like, that's cool. I'm down for that. I'm down for season 2, and also he looks like he does on like the cover of the Legends book, so I like that as well. He's got the traditional Obi-Wan look, and we see him go and say hi to Leia, and he also tells her, like, if you need help, don't be afraid to call, but also, you know, no one can know, so that's kind of setting up the whole when she's like, Ben, you helped my father during the Clone Wars. It's like, okay, that's why she did that. So they kind of, you know, they patched it up a little bit, so that makes a bit more sense, and they have a nice little moment. And also, yes, the Emperor telling Vader to not look for Obi-Wan, because that was my main problem at first, after the end of the fight. I was like, okay, I'm fine with Obi-Wan beating him. I'm fine with Obi-Wan leaving him, but why would Vader not hunt him to the ends of the earth? Well, he wants to. That's his first goal when he gets back to Mustafar all repaired. But then the Emperor's like, nah, let go, don't do that. Which is 100% an Emperor thing. Because he does it in the movies, but also especially in the comics. If you've read like the Marvel comics that Disney has done after Disney acquired them, the Emperor is just the biggest dick of all time to Vader. He's constantly trying to replace him. He's constantly sending him on the worst missions. He's constantly giving Vader things to do that are the complete opposite of what Vader wants to do. Because he's just trying to build up that hate inside Vader and just being a dickhead. So this is definitely a thing that the Emperor would do. Because if Vader's like, oh yeah, all I want to do is hunt Obi-Wan, take him down, the Emperor would be like, nah, don't do that. Because that's what Vader wants to do. So the Emperor is just a dick and is not going to have him do it. So I was like, yeah, that lines up. But it is still a little weird that Obi-Wan's just out there and like, he knows it. Like, he really knows it. And he just beat his ass again. That part is a little weird. I kind of like feel like Vader would probably defy the Emperor still and be like, nah, I'm still going to go and find Obi-Wan. I'm going to take him out. Like, I still feel like he would do that. But it is what it is. I really, really liked the fight, and that moment between them when his mask gets cut is amazing and one of the best moments, the best moment in Disney Star Wars. And I thought the way it was filmed was really well done because, again, up until this point, a lot of stuff with this show looked really cheap. It didn't really look like it was filmed well. It didn't look like the effects were too great. Like, a lot of corners were cut. Let's just say that. But that looked like they spared no expense. Stuff looked good. The dialogue was good. The fight was good. The choreography was good. The filming of it, the cinematography, everything was top notch with that. I just wish the rest of the show was that quality. It felt like they kind of phoned everything else in to get here for a lot of it. So, yeah, it kind of makes me a little bit more mad at the show about how good that fight was, because it's like, you're telling me you could have been doing this level quality the whole time and you didn't? Come on! But, yeah, as far as... I really liked the episode. I thought it was pretty good. And one thing that does piss me off overall about the show, though, is the fact that we had all these dumbass Inquisitors running around and Obi-Wan didn't fight a single one of them. We knew he wasn't going to be able to kill most of them because they were in Rebels. So it was dumb when they announced them in the show. I was like, that's stupid. Obi-Wan can't kill any of them. But he didn't even fight any of them. Why do you have all these guys? The only reason to have them is so Obi-Wan has lightsaber villains to fight. But no, they're just here, unneeded. There's just so much fat you could have cut from the show and made it better. But, yeah, that's about all I have to say. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of it. I want to hear from you guys. And as always, we'll be covering this episode on my podcast, Nerd Talk, which will be linked in the description down below. We'll have our thoughts up on that soon. And I hope you guys enjoy. See you later.